It's Algebra 1, Lesson 5-3, given 2 points, writing equations of lines. Beginning on page 285. We have 3 steps. First one you need to do in order to write the equations is you need to find a slope. So you substitute the coordinates of the 2 given points using the slope formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1, the change of y, over the change of x, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Step 2 is to find the y-intercept. You know that the y-intercept is going to be the b value in y equals mx plus b. So you plug the values in of one of your points. Use the easier of the 2 points. Most of the time they're going to be the same. But if one of them looks like it'll be easier to multiply or easier to move over, use the easier of the 2. You're going to get the same y-intercept if you use both of them. Plug in x, plug in y, and plug in the m, the slope value that you found, in order to find what the b is. Once you have the m and the b, just simply write y equals that m you found times x, and then plus that b you found. Example number 1 is going to show us how to do that. It says write an equation on a line that passes through the 2 points 2, 8 and negative 5, 1. First thing you want to do is find the slope, y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Remember, label them, x, y, and xy. That'll be step 1, kind of like step 1/2. X, Y, X, Y. This is sub 1, and this is sub 2. Remember, if you put this in the other order, it'll still come out right as long as you go the same way both times. Y sub 2 in this case is 1, minus Y sub 1 is 8. 1 minus 8, that's what's on top. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Over X sub 2's value in this case is negative 5. Minus X sub 1's value is 2. Negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Negative 7 over negative 7, negative divided by negative is going to be a positive, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. So your m value is your slope, which in this case is going to be 1. So in order to find the y-intercept, let m equals 1, and let x equal 2 and y equal 8. You might have chosen to use the numbers negative 5 and 1, but the instructions just said to use 2 and 8. You'll come up with the same numbers if you use negative 5 and 1 the other point. In this case, it just happens to use this one here, x and y. So y equals mx plus b, we know is the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Y's value we're saying is 8. That's why it says 8 right there, just like the bell word. Equals m, the one we just found, 1. Times x's value is 1 plus b. That's what we don't know. Multiply 1 and 2 and you get the number 2. So you have 8 equals 2 plus b, and then get b by itself by subtracting 2 on both sides in order to get b's value 6. Now you have m, 1, and you have b's value 6. You simply write equals, you write the equation y equals mx plus b, write y, write equals, leave yourself a space, and write an x, and then put in place of that m, put that value 1, and put in place of b that value plus 6. Remember, you don't have to write y equals 1x plus 6. You would simply write this as y equals x plus 6, mx plus b. Okay? On the back, there's a space. Take about 1 minute for this one. Remember, go through the steps. Find m first, then find b, and then write the equation y equals mx plus b. Take about 1 minute. Okay, we went a little longer than a minute right there. The first thing you want to do is find m. Easiest way for most people to do this is to label it xy, then xy, sub 1, sub 2. Y sub 2 in this case is 5, minus y sub 1 is 1, over. X sub 2 again is 5, minus x sub 1, minus a negative 3. Remember, minus a negative means to add those two together, plus 3. 5 minus 1 is 4. 5 plus 3 is 8. Simplify this. 4 over 8, never leave it like that. The number 4 goes into both of them. It goes into itself once and into 8 twice. There's your slope value, 1/2. So we got one of the things we need. The other thing we need in order to make slope-intercept form is the intercept. Take that m value, use y equals mx plus b, and pick one of those points. Doesn't matter which one you pick because they're both odd numbers and we're dealing with half of an odd number. It'll probably be easier to use that first one, negative 3, 1. But they'll be about what and what right here, negative 3, 1. There's your x value and your y value. So in place of y, plug in 1 equals, we just found m's value was 1/2 times x value in place of that one, negative 3 plus b. Multiply 1/2 times negative 3. Remember, everything's over 1. Straight across, 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 2 times 1 is 2 plus b equals 1. Don't quite have what b is. We got to get rid of that negative 3/2 or minus 3/2 by adding 3/2. If you add it there, add it here. I wrote it wrong. Plus 3/2. So 1 plus 3 over 2. Remember, 1 plus 3 over 2. You have to have a bottom number, denominator that's the same. So make this one over 1, 2. They're both going to be 2 is the smallest number. They're both going to go into. So 3 over 2 stays just like that. This multiplies by 2 to become 2. So that multiplies by 2. So you get 2 over 2 plus 3 over 2. Straight across, 2 plus 3 is 5. 2 plus, you leave the same bottom number, the same denominator, common denominator as 2. So your b value is now 5 over 2, which we know is the same thing. 5 over 2. 2 goes into the number 5 twice, and there's 1/2 left over. So that'd be 2.5 would be the equivalent of that. All you need to do, once you have m as 1/2 and b as 5/2 or 2.5, is write in the values. Y equals mx, 1/2 x, plus b, 5 over 2 is the b value we have. Remember, you don't leave it as x right next to that. It's positive 5 over 2, so you put plus 5 over 2. Plus 5 over 2. Example number 2 is writing equations of perpendicular lines. First thing you want to do is you want to show that AB and BC are perpendicular lines of ABCD. In order to do that, remember, perpendicular lines, I explained to you right before we started this, they're negative reciprocals of each other. Remember, reciprocal is a fancy word that means flip it. Negative means they're opposites. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So when you look at the slope for the line AB, that's this line here, you use the 2 points, negative 10, 4 and negative 8, negative 2. So when you plug those values in, y sub 2 minus y sub 1, this is what the instructions are calling y sub 2. 4 minus y sub 1's value is negative 2. Minus a negative 2 means plus 2. 4 plus 2 is 6 over x sub 2, negative 10, minus a negative. Again, minus a negative means plus. So negative 10 plus 8 is negative 2. 6 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 3. In order for them to be perpendicular lines, they have to have negative reciprocals of each other. So negative 3 we know is over the number 1. The reciprocal means to flip it, and to make it negative, that one's already negative, it should be positive 1 over 3. If the other one's the correct slope, it'll be positive 1 over 3. 2 minus 2 minus a negative 2 means plus 2, which is 4. And 4 minus a negative 8, 4 plus 8 is going to be 12. 4 divided by 12 is 1/3. So we have negative reciprocals of each other, -3 or -3/1 and positive 1/3. So line segment AB and line segment BC are parallel because 1/3 is the negative reciprocal of -3. Remember, negative reciprocal, fancy way to say flip it and change it, or change it and flip it. So B says find the y-intercepts of lines containing AB, or line segment AB, and line segment BC. Substitute the slopes from part A and the coordinates from one point. It uses the 1 point -8, -2. It uses that point. So it's the same point for both lines. Make it easy on yourself. The slope for AB we found was -3. So in place of M, we plug in -3. We're plugging in the point -8, -2, or X, Y. So Y's value here is -2 equals the M value we found for the first one, -3, times the X value right here, -8, plus B. So when we multiply those, -3 times -8 is going to be positive 24 right here. This is the step that goes in the middle. And then when you get B by itself, you subtract 24 on both sides. You get B's value is -26. So you have M's value is -3, and B's value is -26. Do the same thing with the other one, except now your slope is 1/3 for BC. Plug in your X and your Y value. Y's value is -2 equals 1/3 times -8. Remember, everything's over 1. Multiply straight across. 1 times -8 is -8. 3 times 1 is 3, because they probably left this intermediate step off 2, if I'm having to guess. In order to get B by itself, they did. In order to get B by itself, add 8/3 to both sides. So when you add 8/3 off here, you have to add it here. So what you have is -2 over 1 plus 8 over 3. Remember, in order to get this, you have to have the same number at the bottom. It has to be 3. So this multiplies by 3. This has to multiply by 3 as well. -2 times 3 is going to be -6 plus 8/3. Now the number's the same at the bottom. Leave it as 3. And -6 plus 8 is going to be positive 2/3. So now that you have M's value is 1/3 and B's value is positive 2/3, write it as Y equals MX, just plugging in M, plus B, plus 2/3. And the other equation, your B value was -26 and your M value was -3. So Y equals M's value -3 times X plus B's value -26. Okay, let's take a look at this one real fast. It says show that FG and GH are perpendicular sides. Remember, in order for them to be perpendicular, they have to have negative reciprocals as their slopes. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find the slope of segment FG. That's this one right here. So 3 minus 0 over 2 minus 3. 3 minus 0 is 3. 2 minus 3 is -1. So the slope of FG is -3. We know that if they're perpendicular lines, they're going to be negative reciprocals of each other. So we know in order for them to be perpendicular, the slope of GH has to be 1/3. So let's check the slope of GH, this one here. Remember, it doesn't matter what order you go in. 0 minus a -1 means 0 plus 1. 3 minus 0, 3 minus 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 3 minus 0 is 3. The slope of this one is 1/3. Are they perpendicular lines? Are those slopes negative reciprocals of each other? Remember, all negative reciprocal means is a fancy word that means change it. That's the negative part. And reciprocal means flip it. Negative 3 becomes 1/3.